Good afternoon and welcome to the podcast here, Pain Points and Solutions when Moving to a Microsoft Teams Contact Center. A few introductions here to get started. Over here we have Matt Landis, who is the owner of Landis Technologies, and we have Paul and Preston here, who are account executives, and I'm Wendell Martin, and I'll be your host today, or whatever you do on podcast, moderator. And we're gonna get to some of the things about moving to contact center. But first of all, we're broadcasting here from vNext, Denver, Colorado. It's been a great show. Any comments on what stood out to you from the show the last couple days here?
Well, I was drug out of bed at about 6 a.m. for a 5K this morning.
Oh boy, here we go. Not again.
No reason, but no, it was good. No, the show's been great. Obviously we're at a Teams-focused summit or conference here, but the energy behind Teams has been incredible. We said the same thing coming out of Enterprise Connect a few weeks ago. Just a lot of Teams migrations and just a lot of energy around the Teams space.
It's really interesting to hear very concrete examples, people moving from other UCaaS systems to Microsoft Teams. There's momentum, keeps building. It's good.
Yep.
I think the energy behind like the Copilot programs and stuff, and Microsoft announced that at Enterprise Connect, the last show that we were at, but I think the energy behind that and what that's going to enable is going to create a use case for a lot more companies that may be considering Teams as an option, but it'll become we got to have it because of that integration. And it'll empower their current usage, but then it'll also make a use case for a lot more.
And surprise to no one, I mean, the AI discussion,
that continues.
It's just at the forefront.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the things I thought about this show is it feels like a reunion, not as much as an expo. It's just a bunch of friends getting together and talking shop.
Yeah.
It's just
enjoy the community here. I think that's why one of the things we enjoy most about this one is how focused it is, and the community. Great to stay in touch with everyone.
So this is our first expo that we're at since we announced that we are certified contact center from Microsoft. What are some comments on that?
Yeah, I mean that has been a long time coming, but we're super excited to be certified. Not only certified as a Microsoft contact center, but be in their Extend solution certified. To have Microsoft put our product through the paces, test the architecture, sign off on the security and all that, it's been exciting.
Yeah, it didn't actually change our product, but it documented and certified what our product was, and we're excited about that. Anytime you can have Microsoft do that for a product, it's worth your time for sure.
Yeah, we were glad to have a lot of trust in the industry, so we had a ton of momentum before being certified, and we look forward to what this might add to that. But yeah.
So getting into the actual topic here, pain points of moving to Microsoft Teams contact center, or any contact center really. One of the things that comes up is, when have you outgrown native Teams? So native Teams has their queues. When have you outgrown that? What are some signs that you can throw out as, here are reasons why to look at another option?
So whenever you find yourself in the native Teams solution and not having the visibility that you need of and whether that's your call queues, what's happening, how that call flow is working, when you find yourself limited or wanting that data, that's one sign for sure. There's many others too.
Yeah, I think the live metrics, especially if you're, depending on what your situation is, if you find yourself with some remote work personnel, or just finding yourself wanting to make business decisions based on live metrics or reports from your staff, oftentimes you'll find that more often than not, Teams might not have exactly what you're looking for. And if you're bumping up against that, that's kind of your sign that you may have outgrown Teams call queues and need a little bit more support.
What I would say is, if you want real-time contact center insight, what's happening right now, and be able to act on it. barge in, pull calls to you, both to see what's going on and to make things happen. Number two, if you want reports, advanced contact center reports, it's there. Advanced routing, skills, marketing messages, complex stuff happening in your queues, and smart call to context. So you want to see what's the customer that called in, you want to know what's going on. Do they owe you money? Is there a service request going? What's going on? You're probably looking for a contact center. Maybe granular access to queues and parts of queues and IVRs or call flows, being able to control that. So those are some of the things. Maybe some of the really basic queuing you can do with Microsoft Teams, but if you see some of these things, you're probably ready for a contact center.
Well, and jumping on top of that, so skills-based routing is something that's a common term in contact centers, but skills-based enables, a simple description would be skills-based enables you to get a call to the most qualified agent, is a lot of times what people think of with skills-based, and maybe it's language. So maybe you have an agent who speaks fluent French, and you have a French queue coming through. Now that agent also can speak English, but they're not as fluent in English, and so you put them as a lower skill in English, high skill in French. If a French call hits, they're going to be the first one up. And then if everybody's busy in the English queue, it can flow to them. They can still handle it. But the other way to use this that I've seen customers do, which is a creative way to do it as well, is have a service queue, for instance, and you have engineers who are in that service queue, but you do not want them to be first up on a call. And so you can they're the highest skill people. You're going to rate them the lowest skill in the system, and then you're going to get the calls to the agents who you want answering the calls. And then last-ditch effort, hey, nobody else is available, let's go to these engineers and get that call handled. So it has good customer service, but it's workforce management then, a tool that gets it to the correct people in your system.
That's not what you're going to find with Teams native call queue.
No. That's what skills.
Yeah, and so if you are starting to imagine some of these scenarios and how you could use them, that's when it's time for a third-party product to come in and fit into your Teams organization.
Okay. Yeah. So you talked me into it. I need something. Now, the first pain point is, how do I start? Where do I start looking? I realize I have some of these requirements. What do I do? What's my next step? I'm the IT manager or whoever. I need to start looking for this.
Yeah, I mean, the list of products that are certified by Microsoft is probably as good a place as any to start. Those are products that they have, like we mentioned earlier, they have vetted and guaranteed that they work well with the platform. Now that does, there's still a lot of options in that, but that's often where we see clients saying, we're going to start our search here because we know that this has been backed by Teams. And it gives you some confidence going into the search.
But just because they're in that list doesn't mean they're not very different solutions. So,
true.
Preston, you're probably burning to say the difference.
So Extend and Connect are the two versions of contact centers that are certified by Microsoft. And there's very key differences, but trying to boil this down into kind of a simple to understand thing. The Extend version would be the version that is most native to Teams. So you're getting, the call media doesn't leave your environment, and you really have a secure integration, and you're not with you don't have the complicated routing methods and that kind of thing. Connected then, or a Connect solution, would be just the baseline for working with Microsoft. So that can mean that maybe I have it on another platform, and I'm transferring calls into my Teams users. But it's reading the presence of your Teams users, and it's transferring in. It is transferring that into your Teams environment, but the call is processed and all this stuff outside of. So you want to understand what version of contact center you're looking at, which Microsoft will tell you that. But then you also need to continue to look at the solution that you selected. So you've landed on an Extend solution. Make sure that the features you're looking at don't fall and change that version, because it can be certified as an extend, and then add a few features, and all of a sudden, now you have a little bit of a mixture.
You need the same vendor's
Yeah.
connect solution, not necessarily their extend solution.
Yeah.
It can easily slide over depending on the features that you ask for.
Yeah.
So it's something
Yeah.
to be aware of. Make sure you know that.
Yeah, you can have people after the fact that have implemented something and say, this is really a little different than what we discussed when we do it, and maybe it works. Maybe it is the right solution for you. That is, it's a certified solution. Maybe it's correct, but be aware that sometimes these builds will change a little bit as you detail out exactly how you're going to build it. Maybe the baseline is extend, and then it goes beyond that sometimes.
And there's not many. So there's a handful of certified contact centers for teams. A small percentage of those are actually extend.
Yeah.
They
Especially fully extend, where all the features fall within extend.
Yep.
That's a very limited.
The higher percentage are those connected solutions.
Yeah.
And they're connected because those solutions may be providing contact center services for more than just Teams. They may have Cisco and other platforms, whereas the extend solutions are fully embedded within Teams. So.
Yep. Very valid to have a connect so you can use it with someone else, but
Yep.
it might not be as tightly integrated and embedded and using all the calling plans in Teams. But yeah.
True.
Sounds good. So, what I hear often about contact centers specifically is slow response times from vendors. Why is that?
That is a pain point.
That's a pain point.
Big.
I don't. So it seems to be. I mean, there's probably a variety of reasons, but it is very common for us to hear from certain customers that have been through this that, the process just takes a long time because they can't get good responses out of vendors. They might not be quick to get back. They may.
Is this support or sales?
This is more both, but it starts on the sales side of things.
Yep.
But it's a good warning sign if you're in the sales process and the company is taking forever to get back to you, asking a ton of questions and having trouble giving you straight answers. That's probably, once you get into the deployment and the support part of the projects, it's probably not going to get better.
You don't expect that suddenly to ratchet up unless you have a super good professional services manager and a horrible sales manager, but they usually correlate just a little bit.
Yeah, they do.
Kind of the company policies or company culture carries over to both.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is that quite possibly they want to be engaging and want to be helping you, and maybe their product is that complicated that it's not easy for them to identify, hey, here's what they need, and I can help them out with a statement of what all we can do for them and how it works. That could be a sign that maybe this is a complicated system even before you get into the architecture.
I was having one of the lunch sessions here. I was sitting with someone that had just been through this, and I think they said they had 3 meetings with a vendor, and they really, the end result is, he said, I was actually never able to get a price out of him. I was never able to get, details of what the pricing would look like. And some of that could come back to what you mentioned. It may be just too complex to give a straight price, and that can kind of be a warning sign in and of itself.
Okay, so I find what solution I want. I got a vendor that's responding quickly. They can give me what I need, the information I need to get me a quote. Another pain point in any big move like this is end user adoption. Is there anything that you would comment on how to make end user adoption go smoother or make it easier? Because that can really cause pain down the road. You decide on something and the end users say, I don't like it, or I don't know how to use it, or whatever.
Well, that's pretty normal for new technology, isn't it? Don't end users start by saying, I don't like it. Not always.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost start by looking at obviously the simplicity of the platform, but the UI, making sure, likely you've just in the recent past spent time training your agents on Teams and how to use Teams. You want something that complements that and feels like it fits into that. That goes a long way for overcoming, because, like you say, there's going to be some objection to change, but if it feels cohesive and it feels easy for them to understand and adapt to, that really helps overcome some of that.
So what you're saying is if the user experience is very similar to Microsoft Teams, it eliminates the pain of kind of learning two different systems.
Right.
And if a contact center was built never knowing Microsoft Teams exists, you're probably going to have two different experiences. Yep. And it seems like a great way to eliminate that pain is to have something that's built for Teams so that the experience is essentially the same, that you can hardly tell you're in one versus the other. What you learn for Teams applies to the contact center or something like that.
Ideally, ideal world, if I know how to use Teams for calling and I'm an agent, I basically think Microsoft Teams is doing the contact center. That ideally it's that integrated. Mm-hmm. That's the ideal world, because we're coming in and bringing a contact center into this environment. We're trying to get it as native as possible and still deliver what you're looking for.
You like one seamless experience.
Yeah. If the agent is not able to tell when they're in one platform or the other, it's all kind of one, then you've hit your mark. Yeah. That's what your goal is.
Okay, so got that. We know we need a contact center. We got one picked. End user, it looks like Teams. End users are going to be happy with it, or
they'll get there.
They'll get there. Eventually, the adoption will happen. Now I got to go for implementation. And how does the number porting? I always hear about number porting and getting the right carriers and stuff like that being a pain in contact centers, and sometimes splitting between systems, stuff like that. What's your advice to look out for on how to make that work?
You don't like doing that on Saturday nights? After hours on Saturday night, spend porting numbers?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brett.
So, if it's a native Teams extend contact center, and native Teams, maybe that's kind of the wrong word. An extend that's very native to Teams.
A contact center that is using the underlying Microsoft Teams infrastructure or the platform.
Yeah, then you basically, you don't have to worry about, it's really a bring your own calling plan approach. I mean, you can then have whatever trunking or however you're connecting direct calling plans, however your Teams calls are coming into the environment, it's fine. It doesn't matter if you have
that's a major difference between connect and extend. Extend is going to be using the underlying platform. It doesn't matter where your calls come from.
As a general rule.
And connect will possibly have more complications.
Yeah, so if you have direct routing, Microsoft calling, operator connect, all those things, the calling you have going, it'll work in the contact center in extend.
And customers, I'm on calls. Sometimes I'm showing a contact center product to a customer, and there's a partner on the line, and customers are worried about this call porting thing because they hear the horror stories. Then our main business number is out for 48 hours while the phone companies are fighting about who has access to it, or it takes time for it to properly switch over. And so they understand that's some of the resistance to switching to other products in their calling, switching to the newer technology that they know is going to be better once they get there. But they hear some of those things, and so to alleviate that extra step in the contact center side then as well it really serves you well as a organization.
Which comes down to a question on implementation. Traditionally, contact centers have been heavy implementation, high expense, long time periods. How has Teams changed that, or what advice do you have on that?
This is probably one of the larger pain points that depending on the size of your organization especially, but the implementation and rollout process, contact centers, contact centers have the reputation that it's going to take a long time, it's going to be expensive, and it's going to be difficult. With Teams, especially if you're talking about one of the extend model products, that really changes the way that the product's rolled out and the implementation period. And Matt, you may, as a CEO, you may have more.
My commitment is that this should be, imagine a Microsoft Teams toggle button. You should be able to click that, and now you have contact center there. That's how it should work. And whether all extend contact centers for Microsoft Teams do that, that is what our goal is, to make it that simple. And people don't believe it, but that's what our vision is. You toggle and you have contact center. And the time, you should be spending your time somewhere else, in the creative things of coming up with call routing, call flow, and maybe training agents, not getting the infrastructure going. That should be a toggle. And grant permission, and you're ready to go.
I think, and maybe this is just me, and what I feel like I've noticed, especially coming out of COVID, CEOs saw their team deploy solutions quickly because they had to. And over this time, we've just seen this burst of these software as a service products that's really the expectation anymore.
Absolutely.
You got to be nimble. You got to be able to roll out solutions quickly.
It's 2023. If we want a contact center, it should be a toggle.
Yeah.
And we have it.
And whether the organization is really large or small,
Absolutely.
they deserve an easy, simple contact center, and they're going to demand this. This is not, deserve is one thing. It does need to be easy, or it's going to go away. It's not going to work.
I think what we were mentioning earlier with people embarking on this journey and finding it difficult to get good support, a lot of times those smaller, let's say 150 and under contact centers, a lot of companies, or some companies may not treat them with the same level of support, and maybe because their product's so difficult to set up that it doesn't make sense for that type of organization. You need to find a product that is going to give you great support and can be easily rolled out regardless of what size you are.
Absolutely. If it's a small 100-user contact center, or whether it's a large 500 to a couple thousand users, it should be easy. It's 2023. The infrastructure shouldn't be hard. Spend your time on doing creative, consultative kinds of things.
Yep.
That's the way it should
Absolutely.
So you say toggle at own.
Yeah.
Traditionally, implementation has been months.
Yeah, quarters.
Quarters.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So is there a real world example of how the process would work for a good extend product?
I mean, yeah, there's plenty. One that I'm thinking of, so I had one earlier this year, a California company. This was so it's a California nonprofit, McAllister Institute. They serve homeless people essentially and help people without homes get connected with lodging, especially in inclement weather. And this was over the period where California was having a ton of rain and flooding and all that. They reached out on a Monday, I believe, Monday afternoon, made first contact with us. Later that day or early the next day, we had a proof of concept set up for them. They tested it for a couple days, and by that Friday, they had their agents on the platform. And they needed that. They needed that because they had more bad weather coming in. They didn't have a good solution. They were getting hundreds of calls per day.
And I want to underscore something before and you can finish up after this. But that afternoon, they had it running.
Yeah.
And then the rest was, training and other things. But keep on going.
But yeah, I mean, that was a situation they were in. That's what they needed. But yeah, less than a week for initial contact, scheduling a demo, getting a proof of concept set up, and the onboarding and training of the agents. And that comes back to the platform, being able to easily roll it out and have the agents just pick up on it and start answering calls.
That impressive. That puts some numbers to what you mean by faster.
But yeah, I mean, in the past, these things were measured in quarters, not days. And it just, like we said, there's not the appetite for that anymore, and it shouldn't be necessary.
One more big pain point. Often here across a lot of organizations, contact center, or no really, but contact center we're talking about here, is the reception user or the operators. Often don't want change and often get overlooked. Comment on that.
And our key employees in the organization, they end up talking to lots of customers through the day, and they end up having the ear of very important people in organizations. They tend to. So yes, absolutely. It's an
They're
area
the most demanding
Yeah, and
user in the whole environment, most likely.
well, and they should be because of what they have to do on a day in, day out basis.
They're
They
the
need
high
to,
touch,
that call needs to hit, and they need to get that transferred out. One button, whatever. It needs to happen and automate where it can.
And Microsoft is guilty of this too. They kind of overlook this user and have
Afterthought.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of an afterthought with just the Microsoft client. It's not really set up for this type of user. So yeah, finding a solution that has an option for that user that isn't just a tack-on afterthought option.
Takes care of that. It takes care of them.
They got to be taken care of. And so, of course, if you can have a platform that comes in and does everything and covers both your inbound contact center help desk type user and your answer transfer switchboard operator type user, that's ideal.
That user tends to want to have everything in front of them. It's a very different UI. Those two things are very different, because if I'm an agent in a contact center just taking calls out of a queue that are transferred to me, I'm maybe a help desk and I'm answering these calls. I'm handling that call. That reception user, it's hitting them, and they need to know, hey, that's somebody going to one of our account executives. That needs to go to one of our salespeople, and some reason they ended up at the reception. So who's available? I need to be able to glance at that list of the sales department, and see who's available, or transfer it into a queue that goes to them, or there's a number of things, but they need it all right in front of them. They can't be clicking on this, then clicking on that, then typing in a search. Oh, they're busy. Okay, let's check then the next one.
And maybe to build on you, Preston, this user is really demanding. So you don't want an attendant console client where there's a confusing UI overlaying the Teams client, and when a call comes in, one pops up and the other jumps around, and there's one toast and you have to answer in another window, or have kind of a clunky app that's on the machine and it's interfacing with something else. This has to be a clean, really elegant solution so that it works super good for one of the most demanding users.
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
something you'll want to think about.
That's a pain point.
Yes.
Pain point that needs solved in an organization that has those users, and a lot of organizations do.
And I tell you, if this user, if their attitude towards Teams sours, it can pretty quickly sour the rest of the environment's attitude towards a new deployment of Teams. So getting them taken care of, it's critical.
Okay, one other thing. So got all these pain points, got some advice on them. How do I know I'm getting the right solution? How do I know that I'm picking the right one? How do I get the confidence of that?
I mean, there's a number of different things. Obviously, there's great research tools out there. There's a lot of good Microsoft MVP blogs and things like that. But having a good partner to pull alongside you makes a huge difference. A partner that has been through it before, not just on the contact center side of things, but a partner that can understand your team's environment, your team's network, and make some recommendations there, and also know how to structure it so that you're set up for success with a contact center.
There's additional resources. Partner is important, but additionally you can use. There's some consulting services, and I'm going to call one out. Empowering Cloud.
Oh yeah.
He's based out of London, but he's a Microsoft MVP. Tom Arbuthnot. He is developing a consulting service in which he can assist companies in knowing the questions to ask.
So things like, there's multiple options for contact center.
Yeah.
Can you use the built-in Microsoft functionality?
Yeah.
Do you need will the Microsoft Digital Contact Center that works with Dynamics CRM, will that work for you? Yeah. Extend versus they can really help guide through this process.
Yeah, that type of organization can be really valuable in your process, because the worst possible case scenario is I deployed a contact center and I'm 6 months down the road and I realize we got to pull the plug. We got to start over. We got to find it's not doing what we want it to do. We didn't do enough. We didn't have the right questions asked before we started, and that's so much more painful than getting it right by getting some advice from somebody like that, or the help of a partner, certainly.
And there's we have some good partners. I mean, there's a lot of partners that we rub shoulders with. There's some that are here. CDW, Cloud Revolution. There's a Carousel Industries, New Wave. Yeah, there's
Time to Market, Converge One. I think they're Unified Communications. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
And that's just listing some of the ones that are here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great partners that'll do excellent. And a good contact center vendor should also help guide you in the right direction. They should, if they're knowledgeable about Teams and really take the time to be deep in the Microsoft community, Microsoft Teams community, they can help too. But
yeah, so we focused on a lot of the negative things here. So
it's called pain point.
Pain point. It was in the title. You were warned. But as you look at it, the Teams platform and the ecosystem around it kind of lessens, at least, makes a lot of those pain points go away. It solves.
It makes this I heard Matt say that we're going to have we're driving towards a toggle switch for contact center. That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's what we need to be doing. Teams makes that possible. Without the Teams ecosystem, that's not.
I mean, hands down, there is not an easier platform for rolling out voice and contact center than Microsoft Teams. And the suite of partners and products that have come around Teams to make, Teams out of box may not check every checkbox that you have, but with these certified products that have come around side of Teams, it really checks all the boxes and makes for a straightforward deployment.
Microsoft Teams for customer experience can be an excellent experience for the companies implementing it. That's how it should be, and that's how it definitely can be. Yep.
Yeah, we're excited about this, as seeing the direction that Teams is going, the huge adoption and the continually adding of features inside Teams and continually adding of the ecosystem around it. We're excited to see where all this goes, but we got a good future. It's an exciting time in the space here. And speaking of partners, I see Scott Rendell standing over here. Preston, we're going to kick you out and pull him in.
Let me hop out here just a second.
So Scott, I don't know if you're a partner on the live stream here. He works with Microsoft, and you know what? Every time I ask a Microsoft guy what they do and what their title is, I get confused. So I'm going to let you say what your title is and how you help partners.
What time is it?
Okay, we got time.
No,
okay.
It might
in 5 words. Explain it in 5 words.
It might change in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Presently, I'm a cloud solution architect with our global partner solutions group. That name could change too. Who knows? Give it another 30 seconds. But basically, I help enable partners produce offers to be profitable themselves and to then allow, to kind of get you to the point where our sellers can connect with you guys and know that it's a good, solid product, so that they can pitch it. You can pitch back to them. You can interface with the account teams. So at the tech team level where I sit, I'm kind of where the rubber meets the road with you guys, right? Mm-hmm. I'll pitch ideas, or you guys come to me with an idea and we'll help you build it. And then from there, we take it through the ecosystem. We get you from build to publish to like a prioritized status, and then that opens up a whole world within the business level at Microsoft, so that you guys can get us incentivized to do certain things like do workshops and have Microsoft pay for them, or we've tossed around ideas like CPOR and Pi and ESIF, right? And that allows you guys to kind of tap into that kind of stuff. And then from the business level, the partner development manager works very closely with you as a managed partner, so that together you're building that strategy. So that's kind of and then there's a mid-level technical strategist, a partner technical strategist that kind of owns the all-up technical strategy for the partners that they have. So there's those 3 tiers. So we've got the business at the PDM level, we've got the generalist, the technical generalist at the PTS level, and then you'll have a bunch of CSAs, Azure, Biz Apps, Modern Work, security, things like that. So that's in a nutshell what my team does.
Do you especially work with Teams voice kind of people, or not necessarily?
Yeah, so we do break up the specialties a little bit. Mm-hmm. So on the Modern Work side, myself and my counterpart Alex kind of focus more on collab, Teams rooms, voice specifically, and then we've got some guys that handle kind of Viva and Dev apps for within the team's infrastructure. So it's pretty evenly spaced out, and we're busy, right? I mean, voice is huge. It's taken off. I heard you guys talking about how a customer's journey through Teams goes to voice. Now what? Now that we move into contact center or something like that. So it's towards the end of that journey. But so we help kind of in all steps along the way, and it's really interesting the way our partners are innovating and using the tools to come up with new ideas, whether it be analytics reporting on Teams and how that things work via Viva, or expanding out through Viva and that employee experience, or doing some sort of services with the Teams room systems. It's really been for me in the last 2 years being in the partner group, it's really been cool to watch that evolution and to work with the breadth of partners that I have.
Well, and if you're on the client side, if you're a client that is in this decision process, considering whether Teams is the right journey to go down, it's encouraging to see Microsoft's weight that they throw behind the partners that are bringing solutions to help complete Teams. There's a whole team of you that are just helping support the partners as they develop products that help complete that environment. So that's got to be encouraging to see from the client side as well.
I would hope so. I would think that any partner that's got Microsoft kind of giving them air support, if you will, behind that would add a little credence to it. Not that partners don't go out and do their own thing. I have partners that I almost never hear from, and that are very successful. And then I have partners that are interfacing with me weekly, that are equally as successful. So it really just comes down to the ecosystem of the partners themselves. But we're always happy, and the best part about our group for a partner, I would think, is the word free. So everybody likes
that's
free,
always
so,
that's
right?
always a good thing.
It's free, it's for me. So
Have their attention now.
right.
Yeah. Okay, now we got everybody's attention. Interesting side note, we have known each other for a number of years, working with Teams, UG, and stuff. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Just today, we found out that we grew up. I live in Pennsylvania. He lives in New York.
Not even 60 miles.
Not even 60 miles from each other,
Right,
out in
Wisconsin.
northern Wisconsin.
Where you can get coffee,
yeah.
right? And fish in the creek.
Yep, you got it. And nobody else knows how to stay stuck.
No, they don't just don't want to talk.
Anyway, that was interesting. But where we met was user group, right? A number of years ago. I forget.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
It
anyway.
might have been when I first started helping out with the user
You
group.
do a
Yeah.
lot with user group in New York.
Yeah.
Give a plug for everybody on user group. We want more people.
Oh
to
my
show
gosh, we want everybody to come. If you even touch Teams or know how to spell it, you need to come to the local Teams user group meeting that happens quarterly. And June 22nd in New York, if I happen to be in New York on that day. We have a good time. It's generally 3 sessions, kind of an intro. We do an update on what's new in Teams, and then there's usually one technology we'll pick to promote, or possibly have a partner come in and do. So I feel the user group is very partner centric as well, especially with our sponsors, right? So we give them a chance to get in there and talk about it. But it's all Teams based. It's all good. It's all helpful information.
Yeah, and I'm going to add, Landis Technologies, we sponsor the Microsoft Teams user group. We think it brings value to the community. So I want to say the same thing you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not just in New York.
No,
It's all over the U.S.
That's right. So go to teamsug.com and look for a meeting near you.
And if there's not a meeting near you, we're looking to open new sites. If you have a bunch of people in a city that we don't have a site, we want to spread it as much as we can. But they're great.
It's a great
time
network.
to get
Yeah,
together.
it's a great networking event. It's a great time to hook up with people you haven't seen in a while, or possibly make a connection. Matter of fact, the very last one in New York, a customer who was dark came in and started asking a bunch of questions, and now I found out that just this week they've completed their Exchange migration. So they went from dark to Exchange migration in 2 months. Yeah. So that's excellent. And that was all done because of a connection at the user group. So we're thrilled with that.
Other thing about user group goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is how you pick stuff and how you know you're getting the right thing. You can talk to other people that have done it.
I was just going to say that, yeah. Well, I mean, just getting in the same room as people that are in the same process as you and looking for solutions to pick. It's just comforting to be able to bounce,
The content is awesome. We got good content every quarter. But the interesting thing that I love to hear is between sessions and after sessions and over lunch, people saying, "Hey, well, how did you do this?" Oh, yeah, that and you hear solutions being come up with. So if you haven't been aware of it, check out teamsug.org and see if there's something close.
Excellent.
Anything else we should be talking about? We got.
Well, we're wrapping up. I mean, this is pretty much the end of Comms vNext. I mean, it's shutting down today. It's been a really good conference. One thing that if this is now to the UK and the Europe side, our next show is over in Commsverse, but kind of the same deal. Yeah. A conference that's focused on teams where you can talk to partners that have solutions that can help you. You can talk with Microsoft. You can talk with other people that are kind of going through that journey. So yeah. Little conferences like this are great resources for that.
So have you guys been to Commsverse before? So
yeah,
I've never been.
We're one of the main sponsors
okay.
for that. Yeah.
So I have a question. So I just this week was spending some time with some friends from France.
Yeah.
And the conversation came up about speaking French. I speak a little bit of French, not much. They're of course learning more and more English, and every time they come to the U.S., they pick up some more. Mm-hmm. And the conversation came up about how quickly we speak. Like, I thought people in France spoke quickly. You know, when I'm trying to listen, they said the same thing about us. So at Commsverse, obviously, you've got such a large breadth of languages.
Yeah.
Do you find that speaker coaching is such that you need to just slow it down, be succinct, use the basic words, you know, the words that are in industry, and because I would assume English is probably the language that it's being presented in.
At Commsverse, I mean, it's predominantly UK or largely UK.
Okay.
But yeah, you do get into conversations where it's, you know, and we run into that on the demos as well. You know, if you're meeting with someone, you know, you gotta slow down and make sure you're speaking clearly.
The thing is with Paul and myself, that's not just if we're talking to somebody that speaks French or another language. We get in a group and like, okay, no, slow down, take your time. Even if you don't understand English and you're not from Wisconsin, you might have.
Well, yeah, there's that. You know, that's a perfect language. So.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a great show. You might be able to meet people like Scott over there too.
Oh, I wish. I'd love to go.
One of these times we'll get you over there.
Well, someday, right? Yeah. If I start wearing a blue shirt.
Okay. Hey, your title just changed.
Thank you for being here
yes.
at Comms vNext. I realize Microsofties that are here, they made the effort and initiative themselves. So thank you for being here.
It was thank you. And it's always great to see everybody. I mean, this kind of feels like tech ready, and it's a term you guys are familiar with. It's an internal Microsoft thing, but I'm loving it here. This is my first conference since that thing happened. You know, I don't want to mention it, but so I was thrilled to get out here. And yeah, it was a little challenging.
I felt like I was connecting with people that I didn't see for a while and realizing that things changed in their family since the last time I talked, and business changes, and
I mean, the last time you and I saw each other was DTA, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, and Russ.
What was it? Enterprise Connect, maybe? I can't remember. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so it's been a while for everybody.
Yeah, good to get back together. It was a reunion.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we got some business done too, but a lot of it was just connecting.
You know, and you know, Seth's standing right over here, and he and I have talked, I don't know, for a year or so at least, from a partner perspective, and now to finally meet him, and we did that all over the place. You know, I've represented Michael Tressler, right? His stuff. Yep. Finally got a chance to meet him. We sat on a podcast, he and I and Tom, yesterday, and just yucked it up the whole time. So it's just great connecting with the names that you hear. You know, it's not finally shake somebody's hand and see him face to face and spend some time with them. So what a terrific event. And I got to tell you, shout out to all the sponsors and speakers. Everybody did just a fantastic job. I mean, I don't think there was any lemons.
No, not that I saw.
What was it, like 155 submissions?
Yeah, something like that. There was a lot of sessions.
And only 30 sessions got picked?
Yeah.
That's 30.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's one of the things that Comms vNext and Commsverse both do well, is having great talent in the room for these sessions. Yeah. Everyone that's there can come away with something, and it makes it worth your time.
And I love the throwable microphone. Yeah. That's always fun. Here.
Some of the sessions I didn't have a question, but you wanted to ask a question just to get the microphone.
Right? Yeah, just have it thrown at you. Let me throw that thing. Come here.
Yeah. Maybe the question is just, could you throw that?
Could you? Can I have that?
All Okay, I think, is there anything else we should be covering? I think we're wrapping it up here.
I think that
Great
covers
show.
it. Yeah. Thanks for everyone that tuned in.
Yeah,
We
thanks for-
enjoy chatting about these topics. So thanks for
Well,
watching.
and thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
showing up.
Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.